There we go.
Ah.
It works. We did it. I almost forgot that I needed to plug the microphone in. Hey, it is Tuesday, and I'm going to tell you something else. It's really warm in here. And we're going to talk about the comic books that are coming out tomorrow. So what do we got coming out tomorrow? Hi, everybody. Hey, it's Serena. I'm going to take this off.
I was going to say, if you're feeling hot, take that jacket
Don't
off.
get too excited. So anyway, comic books.
Yeah.
What do we got?
So we're going to do like we did last week. We're just going to briefly plow through a couple of books that people might be interested in.
We're
Books
gonna
that
plow through.
Yeah, we're going to plow through. I haven't necessarily read them, but I know that people might be into them. Although this first one is actually one of the ones I'm most excited about. You remember I talked about that Iron Man facsimile reprint from a few weeks ago. Well, Marvel's got another Spider-Man facsimile reprint. This one is issue number 121. And this is a pretty famous issue. You might not recognize it from the cover, but this is the story, I guess spoiler alert for a 40-year-old comic book. We all good? Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there's no light.
Yeah.
That's a little better.
Background music is a bit loud.
Oh, is it? Fine.
Oh, maybe we just need to be louder.
It's pretty loud. How's that? Let us know how that is. All right, excellent. We're killing it.
Thank God for the chat.
Great work. Yes. I'm trying to listen. Yes. All right, we're gonna turn it way down. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think that's great.
Good, good,
that's
good.
great.
So,
What do we got? Facsimile, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 121. This is the famous story arc where Green Goblin kidnaps Gwen Stacy. And he has her on top of the bridge, and it ends in, as you probably know if you've watched a Spider-Man movie, it ends with her getting thrown off the bridge, and Spider-Man tries to save her, and she dies. And it has that famous scene, which is this image is then used as the cover for the next issue when they fight. But yeah, that's very iconic issue. Looking forward to that one. So here's a few other things that's coming out that might interest some people. We have Black Panther number 1.
Spoiler alert.
I announced spoiler alert for a 40-year-old comic book story.
Tune into the cover of Spider Butt. Wow. All right.
That's a good. Maybe that's why the cover sells so well.
Show us Spider Butt again. All right, sure. We'll let the word butt go. Do people want to see the butt? All right,
Yeah.
Oh,
Look at that.
Huh. Okay, I didn't notice
It's
that.
like square right in the center
It's
of
right
the
in the
issue.
center.
Like I said, it's
Interesting.
not a cover that, like among Spider-Man covers, there's other covers that people think of, but this is one of the most iconic issues.
Right. Right? Oh, hey, Black Panther.
Yeah, Black Panther. We got
There's
a
also a movie.
new Black Panther coming out. I haven't read it. Looks interesting. DC has a second DC Pride book. I think we mentioned the other one from a few weeks ago. This one.
That one last time?
So I didn't show it on the stream, but I mentioned it briefly. We're still working out the kinks of how the show works and showing butts and stuff. But so this is I'm interested in this one. This one is DC Pride throughout the years, and it is reprints of classic stories that feature characters in the umbrella of the LGBTQ plus.
Okay.
So the one they put out a few weeks ago is their yearly anthology with new stories. This one just is reprints of older stuff, but highlights some good characters. It actually reprints one of my favorite comics of all time, which is Batwoman by Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams III, one of the greatest comic book artists of all time.
All time.
He is, absolutely.
Of all time.
I've recommended that book to many people. It's really good. So if you're curious about it, this is an excellent little preview into it. Awesome. Not to be outdone, Marvel has their Pride book out, Marvel Voices Pride, number 1. This one, there's a lot of focus on some of the different Spider-Men. Looks like Loki, Young Avengers, Hulkling, yeah. There's a whole thing. I don't have time to go into the history of Young Avengers for you, Dan.
I guess not. But Hulkling is a character. Is it what it sounds like?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like Baby Hulk?
Yeah, a little. I mean, he's a teenager Hulk.
Okay.
Not a baby.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there's 2 excellent Pride books that are out. Moving on to an even more exciting book is Copra Round 7. This is one of my absolute favorite comics. It's an indie comic it's written and drawn by Michel FIFA. and he's been self-publishing this book for probably almost 10 years now, I think. And if you like classic superhero action, this is the book you want to read. He's very influenced by,
And I do.
yeah, he's very influenced by a lot of the 90s excess. So I think we talked in a few weeks prior about Local Man, my favorite book.
Yeah.
And this definitely fits right in that, except instead of having it doesn't have the meta layer of knowingly being about extreme style comics. This just is an extreme style comic. But he's very weird with his art. There's a lot of mixed media. You can kind of see, so he mixes colors, mixes styles. There's a lot of weird brushwork in some places. He used pens. He does some pages in pencil, some with colored pencil. It's really, some of it gets really abstract, and then some of it is just just dead-on classic superhero stuff.
That's wild.
The story is great. It's basically just about a government assassin team that fights other government assassin teams. It's what you thought the X-Men was when you were a kid.
Nice.
So that's a good book. This is the 7th trade paperback. It's put out by Image Comics. The first 5, I think, were done by a smaller publisher, and then it moved to Image. So if this looks interesting, highly recommend it. One of my favorite comics.
Hog Bison says, love the art.
Yeah, that's because he's one of the best.
So different. Yeah. And that's another thing, and I'll say it every stream, every time we get on camera. I never collected comics before, and then I started collecting them, and I realized that there was so much more to comics than just superheroes, and seeing things like this that are actually pieces of art, works of art, makes me like them even more. Just mind-blowing for me completely. I'm like, I don't care about Superman. But now I know that there's so much more than just Superman.
That's
so
right.
I apologize for being that way. I apologize for being me.
It's okay. Everybody goes through this transformation. Dan,
and what's my favorite comic series thus far? Oh man, Money Shot's pretty good. We talked about Money Shot last stream, and I went and I bought the 2 new copies that we had. Was definitely a surprise because it's it's a dirty comic, and the themes in it are definitely fully adult, but it's also really funny. And I just like stuff that's funny, and the idea of comics never occurred to me, as well as sexy, dirty comics never really occurred to me, but it works really well, and it is completely in my butter zone. And not Dan, that's Aaron.
That's
by
me.
the way.
You can call me not
You
Dan.
can call him not Dan. That's how we're everybody knows everybody else. Well, the other not Dan. Aaron, what's your favorite?
My favorite? Series? I don't know. I have a million favorites. It's difficult
question.
to talk. I'll probably mention a few of them. I mean, the one I mentioned last week was Local Man, or maybe that was 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. I'm really into Local Man. I can't really say this is my favorite comic, but it's probably at one time was one of my favorite comics. And we're going to talk about it now. This is a nice little segue.
I think it's hard to ask a comic book guy what their favorite comic book is. It's like, what's your favorite band, or what's your I guess it depends on your mood, or what's your favorite comic book character? Have we talked about that? Did you say that before?
You know what? I don't think we have. And that one's even a hard one. I mean, as a kid, it was always Spider-Man. As a teenager, as a young adult growing out of a teenager, probably became Daredevil just for superheroes.
Right.
I've since regained a renewed appreciation of Superman.
Okay.
That I liked him as a kid, but we got some shenanigans going on behind us.
I can't even read it.
Oh, there's a glare in the window.
One variant cover. It's a variant cover fan back there.
Oh yeah, that sounds about right.
Aaron's favorite is variant covers. I like Iron Man, because I can see myself as a Tony Stark type character. That's how I see myself. I don't have any money or talent or brains, but that's how I see myself.
But you're charming and you're a millionaire.
I'm a millionaire.
Yeah, and you fly around in a suit of armor.
I could. What else we got here?
Okay.
Battle
so,
Masters?
This is possibly one of the most anticipated comics in the last 22 years.
Wow.
This is Battle Chasers number 10.
Battle Chasers.
This cover, talking about variant covers,
Yeah,
this is one of the variants, and it kind of covers up the logo. Battle Chasers number 10, if you can believe it. If you've heard of this comic, you probably were reading comics in 1999. This is a series by Joe Mad who was, I mean, he still is a great artist, but he kind of quit the comic book industry in 2001. And he did this book, Battle Chasers, for 9 issues, and it's probably what it's most famous for, except for looking awesome, is the long delays between issues. I think at one point, he made 9 issues in 4 years. Like at one point, there was like a 2-year gap between 2 issues. Of course, he was going for the record with the gap between issue 9 and 10 because there's 22 years difference between issue 9 and 10.
Why? Why?
Because he quit doing comics.
Oh, he's like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I hate it.
You know what? That's like, I don't want to get too dark, but that's the story of a lot of people in the comic book industry is they either get burned out or chewed up or spit out. And he moved into the video game industry where he started his own company, and he developed and did a lot of artwork for video games and stuff. I'm sure you'd recognize his artwork. He's done a lot, like I said, he's done a lot of stuff. They even did a Battle Chasers game. And I think that's what they did. I don't remember when the game was, probably like between 5 and 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that probably reinvigorated his interest in doing Battle Chasers. So this new series is not drawn by him, unfortunately.
Not too much of a pivot. Yeah, we did okay. We did okay.
But I this was like the coolest comic to read as a teenager. It was because it's cool art. Again, let me take you back to 1998.
Oh crap.
You know, video games were still like what was 98? PlayStation 1? Was the 2 out yet?
Game Boy? I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Oh no, PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So a lot of
I think we were all alive. Yeah, some of us just barely. Wow, I don't want to get into that. But yeah, that sounds about right. PlayStation 1.
So that kind of era. So think of like early JRPGs. And this the Battle Chasers book was very much like that. Like it's a fantasy setting, but with technology, and there's magic. There's kingdoms. There's a princess with like a magical weapon, like battle gauntlets. You know, there's a jaded ex-soldier. There's bounty hunters. It's just all the cool stuff that you would normally see in like a Final Fantasy game, but done up in this cool American comic, but in this Capcom style. And I'll go ahead and flip through some of it because I was going to say, unfortunately, this new issue is not drawn by Joe Mad, but the artist that he has, Ludo Lulabi, I think is how it's pronounced. He is pretty good, and I gotta say he does a good job of recreating, approximating Joe Mad's style, And it's exactly that type of, like, it's full of action. It's a little sexy, but not too, in your face with it. You know, just the way comics were in the 90s. Everything you do is in your face.
Right.
But, it's a really good book. And one of the other things I want to say that I just really appreciate is that they came out with this book 22 years after the fact.
Hey, Keystone.
Hello. They came out with this book 22 years after the fact. Bring it back on the comic book for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Is that this book just came on the stands today, and it's number 10. Right. They didn't try to reboot it as a new series, with the new number 1. This is just the next issue. And
20 years later.
20 years late. But, it's just so if you go into the shop and you see Battle Chasers number 10 and you're looking for, this looks pretty good, maybe I can find the previous 9 issues, they're all from 20 years ago, so you're not necessarily going to see them on the shelf. The last issue was published in 2001. But you will find the collected editions that exist. And so there is a nice trade paperback from Image Comics. I'm trying to get some of the glare off of this, but and this has the original 9 issues plus a few extras.
Okay, cool.
And
so
I'm going to be
catch up.
I'm going to be a little careful about which page I open up to. But you can get an idea. You can kind of see Joe Mad's art here, and it's just really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's like everything that teenage boys in 1999 love. I'm sure teenage boys in 2023 like this too.
Oh,
I don't have the frame of reference.
For sure, right? Yeah.
But so if you like playing
I was in my 20s in 1999.
Well, then you probably wouldn't like this.
No, it's not for me. Not my demographic.
No.
Oh man,
but I highly recommend it. Just if you like action adventure comics.
Yeah.
To
have that has a long length between.
If you don't mind
release.
a 20-year gap
Yeah.
between issues.
But that's what the trade paperback is.
Yeah.
There we go. Serena says, "Old fart." Well, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I'm gonna go eat a piece of pie and cry in the corner. What else we got?
We got, moving on, I told you I had a new appreciation for Superman.
Yeah.
There's one of the things, so it's very difficult for me to read Superman comics because there's just so many of them and it's been around forever.
Yeah.
So what I appreciate, though, is when DC will put out these miniseries that are just Superman stories that they're not really connected to any main continuity or like whatever the current event thing is. So this book is called Superman Lost, and the premise is really straightforward. Superman gets
Lost.
I have a feeling they wanted to call it Lost in Space, but that name's already taken.
Right.
But
thanks, Serena.
the story. This is issue 4 that just comes out tomorrow, but it's
Okay.
really good so far. The first issue, Superman, they try to save some crisis and ends up getting sucked into a black hole and rocketed across the galaxy,
That'll
like just
happen.
10,000 light years away. And then,
Hate when that happens.
it's rough. It ain't easy. And then but then 1 year later, he mysteriously shows back up on Earth. But for him, 10 years have passed. And so this series is just the story of what kind of shenanigans he was getting up to on the other side of the galaxy as he tries to get back home. And I really like it because each issue kind of is its own standalone story.
A little background story.
It's like a chapter in the ongoing the whatever he's trying to do to get back home. But so it's like you slowly get stuff revealed of how he gets the adventure that he went on, and also
how he ends up there,
how he and then also in the present day of like how he and Lois are dealing with that, like having that, like he's 10 years later, he's not a different person, but he's grown 10 years. And so
he's grown weary.
It's a really good book. It's written by Christopher Priest, who's done a lot of great comics. He's an older writer. He's been around for a long time, and drawn by Carlos Pagulian. It looks great. Very good Superman comic. I highly recommend it. If you like the character, but you don't have the time or effort to get into whatever like big event is going on, like you just want a Superman story, this is a good one. Like there are other characters in it. The first issue has the Justice League, for example.
Oh, sweet.
But like they're parts of the story. It's not really about them. So very, very good book.
Not all about the Justice League.
I'm gonna throw it away.
Whatever, that's fine.
Yeah,
Wherever you want to put it.
All right, we're gonna skip through a couple of these next issues. I'm gonna blast through them real quick.
Blast.
One of my other favorite comics, The Excellent. This is a weird X-Men book. I can't really follow. There's too many X-Men books.
I'm gonna tell you right now, this guy's amazing.
Oh, that's my favorite character, Dupe. True fans recognize Dupe. Everybody loves Dupe.
Dupe?
Yeah, Dupe. D-O-O-P.
D-O-O-P. Dupe. That's Dupe, everybody.
Yes.
Dupe is also my new favorite character.
He should be. He's great. This is a fun book. This started way back in 2002. We're just talking about old guy comics, This was the X-Force comic. This team took over. This is written by Peter Milligan and is drawn by Mike Allred, who's one of my favorite artists. He's famous for doing Madman, and he did the comic iZombie, which you might recognize from doing a TV show on the WB. But no, you don't watch. It's not even called the WB anymore, is it? What is it?
CW.
CW. Oh dang!
Wow.
Old.
You took it all the way back. Holy wow!
This is the old guy episode.
Yeah, this is the old guy episode. Anyway, I was wearing my Reebok pumps, right? And so I'm like pumping them up. So it was crazy. Oh, we know.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's right. So I like this book a lot because
I understood. You understood the reference?
Yeah.
Oh, you knew WB and CW? Man.
Very nice.
What's so what? Let me ask you a serious question here. What is Marvel's thing with like X everything? X this, X that.
Well, basically the X-Men are
Terminators, X-Men, excellent. Like,
well, I don't know if you're aware of this, Dan, but the X-Men are very popular.
Are they?
Yeah. There was a time. Well, I mean, do you have like an hour and 45 minutes? Because I would like to talk to you about the conspiracy theory to undermine the X-Men property and boost the Avengers.
Exhibit.
Exactly. Yeah. Exhibit.
No. Exhibit is in this comic book. He's back. He's in the back. You can't see him.
Yeah.
He's trying to pimp your ride.
It really is that simple. The X-Men were the most popular book, so they created like 10 spin-offs. And they all have X in the title so that you know it's an X-Men book. There's actually not a lot else to it.
So they're all X-Men. They're all mutant dudes.
Yes, they're all mutant characters. Okay. So this is like a weird X-Men book. The idea of it was the team. It was like a parody of reality TV shows. So like the main team were Dupe, the character. He was the cameraman. He would just follow them around and film them while they went to go fight supervillains.
Oh, that's cool.
And one of the notable things, it was a satire, so none of the characters were that likable because they were all like wannabe jerks that wanted to be famous on a reality. So it was a satire of celebrity worship and reality TV. And one of the things that was most notable about it was that characters were just dying left and right in the book because it was just kind of like the futility of trying to. Yeah, it's like you're on this crappy team that nobody cares about. You're only there because you want to be famous, and villains are just murdering you left and right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a great book. It's really funny. It has been on. It got renamed to Ecstatics several years ago, and then it's been on a long hiatus. And it came back just last year with the new Excellent book, which is this. It's kind of modernized in its tone. It's satirizing like social media influencers and like stuff like TikTok, and I certainly appreciate that because
awesome.
I don't know about all those social media people. Sometimes
I don't know, man. What's
up with
creators
that?
Are a bunch of losers.
Well, pathetic.
Hey, I know this guy.
Hey, you know this guy. Did I talk about this one on the stream already? Venom, Lethal Protector.
I don't think you've talked about
This is another one of those old guy comics. Marvel is doing these books for me, for guys like me, the old guys, that I want to read. I want to read about the versions of the characters I remember from back in the 90s. Yeah.
So are they just retelling the stories?
They're not retelling the stories. It's the original writer, David Michelini, who he's the co-creator of Venom with Todd McFarlane. He was writing Spider-Man back in 1988, and then he wrote the Venom series in the 90s. And so Venom has since gone on to be just a ridiculous character. I don't know what that was. There's a lot of continuity and stuff and things with the character. But what Marvel is doing with a lot of these books is. Sorry, if you hear rattling, it sounds like there's a raccoon in the walls.
It sounds like someone's like fall through the ceiling on a rope, like get us. Holy crap! Anyway, Venom.
So
that's a character.
This is all that really is important to say is this is different from the regular Venom series. This takes place in like 1990s setting, 1990s continuity. So they basically went to David Michelini and was like, write new stories as if you were writing them back then.
That's cool.
And so there's no baggage to them. You can just pick them up and read them, and you don't have to worry about what's going on in any of the other Spider-Man books. You don't have to worry about anything 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yes, pretty much exactly like that.
What was on the other day that my wife said, this is... Oh, we watched Terminator 2, Judgment Day. And my wife's like, this movie's like 30 years old now.
Right.
And I literally started crying. I'm not even going to lie to you guys right now. I'm just going to hit you with the honesty. Tears came out of my eyes because I remember seeing the movie in the movie theater, and I felt like I was grown at that point, but I was like 12 or something, I was like, I was like already old when this movie came out. I'm like, wait a minute, I was 12. Anyway, that was a long time ago.
It was.
This takes place in the 90s. Everyone's wearing Jinko jeans.
Right.
And, like backwards fitted ball caps and stuff. Yeah, it's great. It's excellent.
Yeah, it's a good comic. I highly recommend it if you like old guy books.
Old guy books.
Hey, this is another one. I don't remember if I talked about it on the stream.
I think you did talk about it.
So I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about it. I just want to highlight it and say it's awesome. Steve Scroce.
Time.
Yes, Clobbering Time. It's just a Thing story. Steve Scroce is like the best artist working for Marvel right now.
Oh.
Dr. Doom is in this issue. Dr. Doom was also in that Venom issue, I should point out. I got 2 comics this week that feature Dr. Doom, and they're both really good. But yeah, each issue of Clobbering Time, Thing teams up with somebody to deal with this villain threat that he's facing. And this issue, he has to team up with Dr. Doom, and he doesn't like it.
Yeah,
because Dr. Doom is a jerk.
Dr. Doom's a bad guy. I thought Dr. Doom was a bad guy.
Yeah, he is a bad guy, but they both have a mutual interest in saving themselves from this other bad guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, that's an excellent book. Again, another one that I highly recommend.
Nice. Serena, I'm going to go and say yes, Terminator 2 is a good movie, and it does still hold up. It's like a 2-hour and 15-minute long movie, which for that time frame was kind of rare because everyone was doing like these 90-minute movies, right? Like they're just like, hey, they got to be short. And then over time, as we know now, like movies are like 3 hours long, and everyone's like, it wasn't long enough. But like, I was like, let's just put it on. It was kind of late, and I was like, we can turn it off and go to bed later on. But then we were just sitting there watching it, like, this is so good. Like, we should watch this every week. Yeah, what do you got?
Well,
hey!
I don't want to. Just real quick, Terminator 1's better than Terminator 2. Now let's just. I'm gonna drop that bomb, and then we're just gonna move on.
Wow, you are old. Is it because it came out first?
Because I remember seeing it in theaters
because,
in 19... No,
because it's a thriller as opposed to an action. Hold up. Why do you think it's? Why do you think it's better?
I like Arnold better as a bad guy than as a good guy, and I like the tone of it. It has that music where they were ripping off John Carpenter.
Yeah.
And like I like just the feel of that movie. It's so 80s.
It's scary.
Like, it's scary.
It's a horror film.
Yes.
Those would be fighting words.
Look, I've fought with many people over this. It's not a popular opinion, okay? Like I have a friend threatened to like take me outside and show me what it's like.
Wow.
All right.
Polarizing opinions here.
That's what we do.
Fantasy Books Inc. Comic book preview. All right, what else we got?
So
I'm excited about this one, and
yes.
I'm gonna tell you why I'm excited.
Tell me
about
why you're
one.
excited about it.
Because I like a good cryptid.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy a cryptid.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, Chupacabra is my favorite cryptid, but I think this guy, the Mothman, is probably a close second. And on top of that, when I was in Ohio, except I'm going to go on a small tangent. So I used to do live sound and recording. I used to want to be like a guy that worked in a studio and produced stuff because I love music, and I went to school for that, like initially. And there was a band that we were recording as part of our learning how to do everything, and they were called Mothman. And they were amazing. And ever since that, I've just had such a good, vibe with Mothman in general. It makes me think of cool music. It makes me think of cool cryptids. So I like a cryptid.
Mothman just imprinted on you.
Mothman imprinted on me. There was that movie with David Duchovny, which that wasn't very good, but it was.
No.
It was also a movie.
Yeah, you're right.
At least we can agree on that.
Yeah.
Mothman with David Duchovny kind of.
It was a movie. We agree.
It was a feature-length film that you can watch.
So the comic is pretty good. You might like it, Dan. I recommend it.
It's Frazetta.
It's based off of this publisher Opus. They've been doing this series Death Dealer, and they also do a series called Dawn Attack. And
hey,
hello.
CJ.
And basically what they're doing is taking these famous paintings by master artist Frank Frazetta and just coming up with stories
writing a
for
story
them.
around it.
And so this is one of Frazetta's weirder paintings, Mothman.
Yeah.
And so this is a miniseries.
I'm gonna let you find a good page first.
Yeah. We got to be careful. It is a Frank Frazetta.
Yeah. Okay, so if you guys don't know about Frank Frazetta, he loves to draw women in very small outfits, hardly there kind of things, like armor and barbarian type style stuff. Incredibly popular, incredibly well known, but also a little racy. Maybe you want to show it on TV, show it on the stream. And also have a question for CJ. What time is it where you are? Because CJ is currently in Japan, and I just want to say, hey, hope you're having fun. What time is it in Japan? Look at that. It's the Mothman.
So you'll be happy to know, Dan, this book's actually not that racy.
Oh.
It's pretty straightforward. I know. I don't want to disappoint you.
I'm not that happy about it. I told you Money Shot was like my favorite.
That's true. I know. For those of you that don't know, Frank Frazetta also, he was a lot of his most famous paintings were the Conan the Barbarian book covers that he did back in the 60s.
Yeah.
7:30 a.m. in Kyoto.
Ooh, yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
So the basic premise of this book is that Mothman is an alien who crashed his ship onto Earth. And he's trying to get his ship fixed and waiting for help to get back home without letting any of the local humans find him. So he's like slinking around, hiding, and he kind of fell into this.
Sus.
Yeah, a little sus. Everybody's like, "What's going on in the woods?" I keep hearing things, and so that's how the ostensibly the idea is that's how the cryptid starts. And then the story is basically just about this family feud between these two redneck families that hate each other and are trying to kill each other.
Mothman gets involved.
Yeah, and then also there is, let's see if I can find him. There's a dude that's trying to record a podcast. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
He's trying to record a cryptid podcast, and he gets wrapped up in
He's
it
like
all.
stuck in the middle. Nice.
Yeah, and he's just some nerd.
Yeah.
And rednecks with guns, aliens, podcasting nerds.
Excellent stuff.
Yes.
Go get Mothman.
Mothman, yep. That's a good one.
Ooh, Void
Okay.
Rivals.
Void Rivals. This is another book that I think a lot of people are pretty excited about, and I'll be honest, I'm hesitant on how much I even want to say about it because this book comes with some heavy spoilers.
We're not going to spoil it.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil it because it comes out tomorrow.
It is very cool.
Yeah. All I can say is that there's more going on in this book than just the cover. This setup, and I'll also show a few pages of the interior art. This first of all, I gotta say, this is written by Robert Kirkman, famous for Walking Dead and Invincible, and many other things, but I think those would be the big two. Drawn by Lorenzo De Felici, and it's a really good-looking book. The setup is basically these two, I guess you could say they're soldiers from opposite sides of a war, both crash land on this like planet or asteroid, and it's kind of I don't know if you've ever seen
Enemy Mine with Dennis Quaid.
I was just about to say Enemy Mine. Yes, it's exactly like that. A classier example would be the movie Hell in the Pacific, made with Lee Marvin, and that was about World War II pilots.
It also happened on an episode of Deep Space Nine.
That's true.
Which the two different factions.
Which
was stranded.
Was the Deep Space Nine better episode than Enemy Mine, the movie?
As a lover of Dennis Quaid, I'm going to say that they're both good.
Okay, that's good. So that's the setup.
That's the setup.
And then there's a big twist.
There's a big twist.
We ain't
going to tell you a twist.
I'm not going to tell you the twist. And I will say, I knew roughly what the twist was going into it, and I still had to do a little bit of a double take when I read it because I just couldn't believe. I was like, oh, we're actually doing this.
That's here?
Yeah, like we're going all in on it. So I would say, I mean, I'm sure if you really want to, you can look up online. You can find the spoilers to what it's about. But it's an interesting setup. I won't say it's an M. Night Shyamalan level twist. Like it's not like the twist. Well, that's a fair question.
The surprise is it's a different series kind of mashed all together.
Yeah, so that's what I'll say. It's not a plot twist for the story. It's more like a twist where you realize that this comic has characters in it that you recognize from other things, and you wouldn't know
there's
that
no
just from
indication
looking
of it, at all.
So I guess it's in a way it's kind of like the end credits twist of M. Night Shyamalan's Split at the end of the movie when Bruce Willis shows up, and you're like, oh, this whole movie takes place in the Unbreakable universe.
Yeah.
There's something kind of like that going on,
there's a little Shyamalan.
So I guess you can say it's a Shyamalan twist.
There's a little Shyamalan in it.
Yeah.
Shyamalan. With a twist.
Yes.
Ooh.
So I'm curious, and then this also, then I'm sure we'll probably talk about it in more detail with later issues, because then there's a lot of news coming out of this issue of new books that they're going to be publishing over at Skybound/Image.
Very cool.
And it's stuff that I'm kind of interested in because, as we've established several times in this episode, I'm old, and so I like things.
The old guy stream.
Yeah. I like books from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So that was the last big book I wanted to talk about. And then, as always, we want to end this episode.
Yeah.
We want to end this episode. I had a coworker pick out a book for me to read.
Oh, yeah. That's the new thing we're doing.
It's a new thing that we're doing, yeah. So I had our coworker Jacob pick out this book, issue 2 of Something Epic. It comes out tomorrow. Now, since it's only issue 2 and we also have issue 1 on the shelves, I went ahead and read issue 1 also. The basic setup for this one is it's like a sad family drama, except the kid can see imaginary creatures that nobody else can see.
It looks a little Disney on the cover.
So it does, and there's something going on with that. So like the art style at first is really drab. So first of all, I should say this is written and drawn by Simon Kudranski, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I don't know.
That sounds
so he's got a real realistic style to the way he's presenting these figures. It's all like black and white and gray and drab.
Yeah.
Because the plot is him. He's a 10-year-old kid, single mom, parent, kind of not a great home life, and then this tragedy befalls them. But he's also an artist, and he draws comics, and he sees all these cartoon characters that nobody else can see. And so there's something going on. There's something brewing. I think my main takeaway from reading these 2 issues was that it moves a little too slowly to get into the plot. But like, for example, this second issue features a fight between an American superhero and what is basically supposed to be Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, okay.
Like, we talked about in Money Shot about how like people have parries and you have to use like non-copyright infringing
Yeah.
names and
It
colors,
looks similar,
but they look
yeah,
similar.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is supposed to be like a Japanese. I don't know what you would call that. A shonen. Shonen. Thank you.
You're welcome.
A shonen character versus an American like Superman, Captain America character.
I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of words.
It is.
I feel like for a comic book, maybe from the ones I've been reading, that is a lot of words.
So yeah, I don't disagree. I actually think it might be a little overwritten, and it might be a little better if it moved at a little faster pace and probably had less, because it's all done in a first person narrative.
Sure.
So this kid is just going on and on and on about all of his problems, and who among us hasn't though? I mean, it feels very natural to like
sure.
But yeah, there's a lot of like first person narration about everything that's going on, and then just some
All right, we'll be right there.
So yeah, in conclusion, we got a little distraction there.
We did. It's all good. That's a live stream.
That's live streaming. I enjoyed it. I'm curious to see where the next issue goes. It looks like, I kept, the problem I had with this comic was I kept thinking of that episode of South Park where they go to Imagination Land, and like Butters can like create characters, and they're just like killing like Rainbow Bright and stuff like that. So I just had that in my head the whole time, and it's definitely not going for that kind of a tone, but maybe it'll get there, who knows. But so yeah, Jacob had me pick that one out. If it looks interesting, I think you might like it. It's definitely I like that it has a good a mix of like real drama with fantasy elements to it, and I always appreciate that.
Nice.
All right, that's all I got for today.
That's what we got. That's a great preview for the books that are coming out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage everybody to go pick up some comic books. You might not think it's for you, but you're going to find something that you like, and you're going to be just like me with a whole box of comic books, and you're like, how did this happen?
There's something out there for everybody.
And thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll check you out next week on next Tuesday. No problem. Bye.